You're listening to the NFL Draft Bible Podcast Network, part of Sports Illustrated, giving you daily NFL Draft, Dynasty, and Devy Fantasy Football podcasts.
Class is in session. Welcome in to the draft seminar presented by Sports Illustrated's NFL Draft Bible Podcast Network. I'm your host, Matt Hicks, joined as always by my co-host, John Lobb, the Gridiron Scholar, and we are breaking down an under-the-radar prospect, Amari Rodgers, wide receiver out of Clemson. And John, I know you are excited to break him down.
I absolutely am. And I absolutely enjoyed watching him in the Senior Bowl. I enjoyed watching him throughout the season with the Clemson Tigers. And Matt, you've got to understand, for the late breakout age, people are going to talk about that and use that as a knock on Amari Rodgers. And I understand those who love early breakout age. But when he came on to Clemson, they are loaded at wide receiver, and they're talented all over the field. He finally got the opportunity to excel after Higgins moved on to the NFL, and Justin Ross suffered a season-ending injury. I still hope the best for the young man to come back. But the senior finally stepped into the spotlight, and Matt, he did everything you could ask. When given the opportunity, Amari Rodgers rose to the occasion. And then he was very impressive at the Senior Bowl week and in the game itself. In high school, he was named Mr. Football in Tennessee in back-to-back seasons. He was a top 100 prospect by ESPN, and he decides, like a lot of top athletes, I'm going to go to the best school. He just ends up on a school loaded with talent at Clemson. And Matt, I'm sure you know this. He is the son of former university quarterback T. Martin. And if you're a young viewer, T. Martin replaced Peyton Manning at quarterback for the Volunteers. And Peyton Manning never got to the national championship. And I believe he never beat Florida. He always lost to the Gators. T. Martin took over the team, and he led the Volunteers to the national championship for Tennessee. And I remember that team. That was a very good team. Amari Rodgers ends up at Clemson. In 2018, he is honorable mention All-ACC, all-purpose. I do like the fact that he can help you on special teams. All-ACC academic and ACC honor roll. The man is great on the field and good in the classroom. 2019, honorable mention All-ACC and the Brandon Streeter Award for the Clemson Student Athlete. What is really impressive about 2019? In the spring practice, which right now teams across the country are practicing on college campuses, he tore his ACL. Matt, he probably should not have played in 2019, but the young man was determined. He came back, and he actually played in the fall for the Clemson Tigers. And all you can ask of an athlete, or I'm a teacher, a student, when you have the opportunity, take advantage of it. Amari Rodgers had an opportunity in the past year, and he did that, Matt. He was first team All-ACC, Biletnikoff Award semifinalist, and team captain. He had 77 catches for 1,020 yards and 7 touchdowns, which were all career highs. For his career, talking about career, he had 68 punt returns for 529 yards and a touchdown. And since 2000, he is only the 5th player in Clemson history to score a rushing touchdown, a receiving touchdown, and a pass-catching touchdown. We also saw him at his pro day. Well, it was about 2 weeks ago, Matt. He was very impressive at the pro day. We know the numbers are a little bit cooked, but if you had noticed, Matt, and I'm sure our viewers did, or maybe they didn't, but he ran some ball out of the backfield. He's a very impressive player. I like him a lot. What does your film analysis say, Matt?
Yeah, so for the Amari Rodgers here, it starts with the hands. He has really consistent handwork. He catches everything, whether it should be caught or shouldn't be caught. He has sticky hands, and he's going to be a reliable pass catcher, especially underneath at the next level. He tracks the ball really well in the air, and he has a nice catch radius for his size. So when it comes to his hands, really reliable. I give him an 88. Now with his speed, he has solid speed, and I think he speeds up quick. He gets off the line of scrimmage fast. He doesn't have the same level of downfield acceleration or long speed as some prospects in this class, but he gets off the line quickly, and he does have solid speed. I give him an 80 for speed, 88 for his hands. I like him as an athlete as well, John. I have him graded out as a 78. He's a fluid athlete. He's not somebody who's going to totally juke defenders out of his shoes, but he has fluid enough hips, and he knows how to move around the field. He's comfortable on the field. He understands where he is on the field and where he needs to get to, and he has a solid yards after catch ability as well. He could swipe defenders off of him. He could extend the play. Just a 75, so not an overly high score, but enough, John, enough to just be a little bit more and catch the eye of the NFL side of things. So I have his fantasy football projection here as a flex filler. He most likely starts out as a wide receiver 3 or 4 on an offense. Hopefully he's in a good offense with a high target volume, and then Amari Rodgers becomes particularly interesting. But let's flip on his Clemson tape. Let's jump into this thing a little bit.
Let's go, Matt.
All right, as always, provided by Brandon Lejeune, Devy Deep Dive on YouTube and Twitter. And we're going to see right off the bat here against Boston College, he goes up and he shows that longer catch radius. He sticks those hands up, goes and attacks the ball. Woo! Nice ball tracking here on this second play. And you can see that's a nice release off the line of scrimmage. But, John, I love when my wide receivers track off target passes well.
Absolutely, and he contorted his body. He reached behind him, and he grabbed that pass on the goal line. That was a very impressive catch.
Absolutely, and you can see here against Syracuse, he gets the ball in the flat, and he does shake one defender. He gets an extra 15 yards. He's not breaking off an 80-yard play by any means, but that's enough, John. You just need a guy who can get you the first down really consistently underneath, and that's going to be Amari Rodgers for an NFL offense.
Absolutely. We've been talking about buckets all year. I do have him in a Golden Tate, Julian Edelman type bucket. I don't think he's the prospect as those two or the NFL. I doubt he'll reach the ceiling of those two, but I think he has a very nice career in the slot. And we saw a nice vertical touchdown there. That is not the norm with Amari Rodgers, but they also didn't ask him to do that at Clemson. But I do like Amari Rodgers, Matt.
All right, John, what does the production profile look like?
You know, it likes him a lot, Matt. 181 receptions for 2,144 yards. The concern, he only averaged 11.8 yards per reception. But in context, when you have the big boys that he has played with, Justin Ross, T. Higgins, Travis Etienne, they do use their tight ends deep down the vertical seam at times. That was not what Amari Rodgers was asked to do. And it is, you watch where he's peppered with targets. He's going to be peppered, with the line of scrimmage and 15 yards downfield. So maybe he has some more ceiling he can reach there. But in the modern NFL game, Amari Rodgers clearly has a role. I believe he's going to be taken in the second round of the draft. 16 career touchdowns, 75% catch rate, which is astronomical in context. He had Trevor Lawrence throwing to him. So I mean, he's not one of those receivers with a questionable quarterback. Team aerial dominator, 24%. He's a steal in the third round of NFL draft and dynasty drafts. If he's sitting on your board in the third round, I love him there. 5'9", 212 pounds. He is a physical player, a competitor with the stocky frame. You mentioned it. Soft, natural, sticky hands. I like him a lot. He's going to be an NFL wide receiver. I have no problem drafting young men like this for my dynasty roster, who's a great fourth receiver with some ceiling that we have not seen yet.
All right, there you have it. Wide receiver Amari Rodgers out of Clemson. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Draft Seminar presented by Sports Illustrated's NFL Draft Bible Podcast Network. Make sure that you are subscribed. You give this video a like if you're watching on YouTube. And as always, we appreciate